Alright guys, please take your seats. My name is Pasquale Vincenzo Pistachio, but you can call me Mr. Pistachio for short. Alright guys, so today's topic is going to be about the Cold War, more importantly the containment policy. Can anyone help me describe what containment policy is, please?
Me.
Go ahead, Kale.
The United States foreign policy doctrine adopted by Harry S. Truman in 1947, operating on the principle that communist governments will fall apart as long as they are prevented from expanding their influence.
Good answer. Wow, great answer.
Pistache!
Yes, Kale?
Which communist governments were we trying to contain?
Great question, Kale. But the idea is that communism just had to be stopped, no matter where it was coming from. But if there was to be one group that was to be pointed out, it would be the Soviet Union, because they were the second world's largest superpower behind the United States, and the problem was that they were communism, and they were trying to spread communism as fast as they could.
Why was containment so important?
Well, Kale, I'll explain. The Soviet Union ran their government with communism. The United States, on the other hand, used a democracy, and they hated the idea of communism. They wanted nothing to do with it. The Soviet Union's communism started to spread to these satellite states. Finally, the United States had enough, and they said no more. See what I did there? The containment policy was based off the fear of communism. When communism began to spread, the United States wanted to stop at nothing to make sure that it stopped spreading. When this occurred, it made the United States very happy.
Whoa, didn't see that coming.
Alright, Clash, it's lecture time. Alright folks, aside from the containment policy, another foreign policy that the United States adopted during the Cold War was called the Marshall Plan. The Marshall Plan was also created as a foreign policy during the Cold War. The Marshall Plan created an economic miracle in Western Europe. By the target date of the program 4 years later, Western European industries were producing twice as much as they had been producing the year before war broke out. When George Marshall was talking about his Marshall Plan, he stated that our policy is not directed against any country or doctrine against hunger, poverty, desperation. That's a primary source. Some Americans were really upset about the costs, but the nation spent more on liquor during the years of the Marshall Plan than they spent overseas in Europe. The aid also produced record levels of trade with American firms, fueling a post-war economic boom in the United States. So there's benefits on both sides.
What's NATO?
Kale, it's not NATO, you stupid idiot. It's NATO, otherwise known as the North Atlantic Treaty Organization. The United States stationed troops in Western Europe, assuring to its allies that it would use its nuclear deterrent to protect Western Europeans against the Soviets' attack. The admission of West Germany into NATO in 1955 led the Soviet Union and its European satellites to form a competing military alliance called the Warsaw Pact.
Who was part of the Warsaw Pact?
The Warsaw Pact was a collective defense treaty among the Soviet and 7 Soviet satellite states in Central and Eastern Europe during the Cold War. Also during this time, there was a conflict between East Berlin and West Berlin, which then led to the Berlin Airlift.
What's the Berlin Airlift?
Good question, Joey. Kale. You see, during the time of the Berlin Airlift, West Berlin was receiving resources from the United States. And the problem was that the United States would have to fly over East Berlin in order to get its resources to West Berlin.
Sounds like a pretty risky mission if you ask me.
The reason this was a huge problem... Huge. Because every time a plane would fly over to West Berlin, it'd have to go through East Berlin first. And East Berlin was communist. And every time they saw a plane that they knew was going to West Berlin, they threatened to shoot it down. Now, though there was always the threat of a plane getting shot down traveling to West Berlin, it never happened. If it were to happen, it'd give communists a really, really bad look.
Oh! Is that all I need to know about the foreign policies during the Cold War?
No. There is one more thing. Follow me.
Where'd you go?
The Truman Doctrine, declared on March 12, 1947, demanded that there must be economic and military aid to both Greece and Turkey because they were under the threat of communism. The reason for the Truman Doctrine was because Truman believed that it will free peoples who are resisting outside pressures. That's a primary source. Alright class, that's the bell. Please do the homework that's assigned on the board.
Have a splendid day, Mr. Pistachio.